Hey guys, just thought I'd do a third update on my entry into the 75th anniversary Tiger One group build as hosted by Evan McCallum, or as we know him, otherwise known as Panzermaster 36, and Adam Mann. This is basically a group build which I think has been started from around about July the 1st and is going on till around about the 31st of December. Or was it September? I can't remember. Um, and this is my entry into it, which is going to be the initial production Tiger of the 502nd Battalion at Leningrad, around about circa 1942-43, as depicted on this box art here. And the kit I'm building is the Dragon 6600 3-in-1 version. And it's progressing very well. I don't know if anybody noticed my post on Facebook recently, but I primed everything in one day, and that was including the Tiger. Well, we've gone beyond that now. I've actually got her in a base coat of white, and I've actually used a new technique, which is the black and white technique, whereby you actually sort of highlight various panels of the vehicle in white and then go over it very, very gently in very soft base coats of the actual base colour itself. And I'm not kidding you, I'm very, very pleased with the results, because it gives you that sort of whitewash distemper winter effect, or where the paint's got weathered or fading, and it's a good basis to start on. In fact, I got the idea, if I can find the magazine, I've got it under the workbench here, from this, which is the Historic and Collections Painting Guide for AFE of World War II and Modern Era, using the black and white technique. And funnily enough, they've actually, the subject they covered in the Tiger is the one I'm actually building. So, you know, it just shows you various techniques for what to use. So I've been sort of milling through this, getting some ideas, as it were, on how to get that variation of tone in your sort of vehicle, especially when it comes to a whitewash vehicle, and there she is. Okay. It just guides you through various stages of the actual painting process, so you can prepare it for the weathering, etc. So it gives you various tips and techniques, so it's quite a handy book to use, including when you're actually putting rain stains on there with the dot filter effect, and obviously with the weathering of the tracks, etc. So having used this technique, I'm very, very pleased with the progress on this little beauty so far. And the paint I actually used, it wasn't Tamiya this time, it was actually Revell's aqua colour. They're plain white. I actually got myself three tins of this paint, and it went down beautifully. It really thinned very nicely, went down extremely well, and as you can see, with the tonal variation, especially around the front of the glacis here, the frontal armour, on the wheel hubs, at the side plates as well, and on the turret, it really does look very, very impressive. And I think, to be honest with you guys, I'm going to use this technique with my armour from now on in. It really gives it more of a 3D effect, as opposed to just putting a plain base coat colour on there and then trying to go through all the post shading, etc. This really is going to save you a lot of time and a lot of trouble. I like the technique I've got on the actual barrel itself as well, so that's really come up really well. So that's taken me virtually about 2 hours to do this, because I did other bits on the kit as well, and the build. I've got the base done, that's in primer, I'll show that to you in a minute. But as regards the Tiger, well, I'm really, really happy with the results. It really does bring all the detail up very, very well. And I actually studied this technique off Andy Hobby at Hobby headquarters over in Nevada, because he actually uses this technique on his video builds as well when he's actually painting armour. So I thought, well, let's have a crack at it and see what it comes out like. And yep, I'm fully converted now. I'm going to give it this is the way I'm going to do it from now on in. So there you go. Now I've also got the running gear done. I got that all painted this afternoon as well. So that's all done, as you can see here. It is going to need a little bit of touching up around the hubs, etc. Because I've got a little bit of overspray and basically used just a common or garden circle template, which you can get from any sort of stationery store really. So you just find the right hole, position it around the hub, spray, job done. And that way you haven't got to hand paint it, which would take you hours. I did this virtually in about half an hour. I got all this done. So, you know, that was very, very good. I mean, it ain't going to matter about the preciseness of it anyway, because they're all going to get muddied up, etc. As they heavily did when they went through a lot of terrain, especially in winter. So those are done, and I've also started painting the figures as well with the same white. Here's a prime example, is one of the infantrymen. Because obviously he's got these white overalls over him, so I thought, well, let's do that anyway whilst I was actually painting the tiger. And again, with Revell's aqua colours, come up beautifully. Excuse me. Obviously I primed all the figures in black Steiner, so it give you a bit more of a shadow effect really. And this is from the Master Box Cold set, which I can highly recommend. I mean, the level of detail, especially his face sculpt, is beautiful, as you can see there, if I can keep it in focus. Again, with the tank crew, I've given them an overall coat. You've got the loader here, as you can see. He's done. I've just got to paint his trousers and his skin, etc. So he's got his white tunic all done. That will look really nice when I actually put some washes on it as well, so that should come up like a treat. And I've also got the tank commander done, as you can see here. He's done. So it's just painting up the rest of it, which I'll probably do by hand on a paintbrush, and then put down some washes, etc., just to accentuate the detail. So yeah, very, very happy with the way this is all going so far. Again, with the other guy, the squad leader, I've just done his upper part because it's only his helmet is actually white, because they used to cover it in a lot of whitewash, which obviously would come off with the weather, etc. And again, you can just see the level of detail on him is beautiful. It really, really is. So there you go. And obviously I've got the two little squaddies either side at the back of the actual column of troops. Painted his helmet as well, he's done, and then obviously the rest of him will be painted, and his other colleague is done as well, so I've done that as well. And then just paint around it really. So yeah, it's all really, really coming on well. So the tiger's really coming on well. I mean, the only thing I've got to do on it next is obviously the German grey I've got to put on the bottom of the actual where all the suspension arms, etc. is, and then obviously do the camouflage on the side, which is depicted on the box. But what I think I'll do is actually I'll mask this all off so I don't get any overspray on it, otherwise it will ruin what I've tried to achieve here. And then obviously do the camo on the turret and on the side plates here, as well as the frontal armour. So there you go. So we are getting there, guys. We're steadily getting there. Now, since our last video, I basically have done a bit more work on the actual vignette or diorama base. Well, I would say vignette really, because it's not that big. Well, it is in my terms because it's one of the biggest I've done so far. So if I move the box out the way, let's just go over and get the diorama base. So here it is, guys. It's gone from a sort of a rough layout, if I move the camera down, to the actual vignette itself. Now, what I use for the actual surface as opposed to using Saluclay, which I could have used, but it would take me over a week to dry, because obviously I want to get this project nipped in the bud, because I've got a good bit of news about another one, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. Now, what I actually used, if I can find it, bear with me, I've just got to go to get my diorama box. Was the Communal Garden old polycell polyfiller. That's all I used. Layered that on with a pair of gloves. Obviously it was a bit of a messy affair, but you know, us modelers, we love getting into a messy affair, especially when it comes to armour. And obviously used just a few of my trowels, etc., just to lay it down and give it some surface texture. And then I got hold of the spare set of tracks from the kit, because there's a third track, and just made an impression of tiger tracks along here, as you can see. And then here I used one of the figures off the set I've just seen here and just dibbled in here so it's got an impression of footsteps, as it were, trudging in the snow. Now the only thing is, when it did dry, I must not have basically mixed it enough, because there were a few cracks. That's the only disadvantage. If you don't mix it enough, it will crack, and unfortunately it did in my case. So what I will probably use for the snow, again, like I did in a previous diorama, which I think was for the M group build, is use old Woodland Scenics flex paste. I mean, admittedly I should put some groundwork around by the trees, etc., just to give it a little bit of variation, and some woodland floor, but obviously I'll just slightly sprinkle it with some Woodland Scenic snow. I'll put this down first on the base, obviously keeping the tracks clear, and then obviously try and get some foot impressions again with the troops. I might use another old figure that I don't use, you know. So it gives an impression of them trudging through the snow, and then obviously cover it with the old Woodland Scenic snow whilst it's drying, to give it that nice soft effect of snow, really. And use a bit of talcum powder obviously on the trees where it's been drifting as well. So that's the general idea behind that, really. So basically, guys, this is as far as I've got on the entry into the 75th anniversary Tiger 1 group build. Now, if you're wondering what these trees are, if you haven't seen the previous video, well, they will have their leaves in them, because I've got flock included in the kit. And it's from this set here, which is again Woodland Scenics tree set of 24 pines, which you see here. Quick and easy, so you know that will save time on my build. So basically that's it really as regards that. So that's where we stand at this moment in time on my entry into the group build. Again, I hope you like what you see, and as you can see, it's in Steiner as primer, ready for the base coats to go down. I'll probably give it a nice brown, dark, muddy effect first, and then work on the two woodland fixtures with the woodland floor, and then what I may well use is Vallejo's mud effects for the tracks, and I've also got splash mud effects, so I'll probably use that on the vehicle as well. I bought a ton of these at Telford last year. Where are we? Hang on. Not splash mud, I'm looking for thick mud, so I'll probably use this acrylic thick mud of theirs on the base where the tracks are, as it were. So there you go, and that's by Vallejo, and by all reports it's a lovely one to use. And I've actually got one for Russian mud, so that would help, because it's very dark earth in Russia. So there you go. So yeah, that's that as regards the progress on the group build. Now, in terms of good news about another build, you'll be pleased to hear that I will be able to get on with a hunter once this is completed, because that's going to be my next project. It'll probably run me to the end of the year, to be honest with you. So any group builds that I propose to take part in will be delayed, and they'll probably run into the new year. So Len, if you're wondering about your World War One group build, I will continue that one into the new year. And also Kenny from Mindless Model Works, I will be doing the CP 101 entry possibly into the new year as well. So sorry it's going to run a bit late, guys, but I made a promise I was going to complete in your 2 group builds, and that's what I aim to do, even if it means running over the due date. So there you go. Anyway, about the hunter, as you know, I haven't been able to get any work done on it because I didn't have a little resin saw, and there was a delay. Apparently they were out of stock. Well, I'm pleased to say it actually arrived in the post this morning. And here it is. That's me a little razor saw. So that will help with me getting all the bits off the resin blocks for the cockpit. So there you go. So that's good news. In fact, I might start on it on the next week off. So, and that I think is sometime in the next 2 weeks, I think. That's unless they can't find the records at work. Because we've had a few teething problems. But, you know, it's like anything with a new store. You're bound to have a few teething problems. But I do know I had booked a week in October, so I might start on the hunter then, possibly. I don't know, we'll see. But in terms of this, hopefully by the end of October I might have this finished, but we'll see. Anyway, that's it for now, guys. Keep on with all those good builds out there, and all that remains to be said is enjoy your tigers, because I know I am, and some of the completed builds I've seen there have been absolutely spectacular. They really have. So keep up the good work, guys, and as I say, I hope you like what you see so far. So until the next time, get kit crazy, happy modelling, and I'll speak to you soon.